Hey, everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much for tuning into this. I'm really excited about my guest today. He's multifaceted, award-winning singer, songwriter, photographer, just all around amazing humanitarian and someone who I'm honored to call a dear friend, Mr. Manny Cabo. Welcome, Manny.
A lot of bravado once again for a bald guy, but I'll take it. I appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure.
Hey, no one's ever going to accuse us of pulling our hair out.
Exactly. But thank you. It's a humbling opportunity for me. So thanks for reaching out, man. It's been an honor.
Yep, excited. I mean, and folks, if you don't recognize Manny, or if you think you recognize Manny, you may have seen him on NBC's The Voice or Telemundo's La Voz. He's one of the top performers there. Manny is going to dive right in. Music City Mondays, talking about Nashville. You've got just the quintessential classic pop rocker voice,
right?
And you being from New Jersey, right? And
right,
me being
or Jersey, as they would say, Jersey.
Jersey. Is
right.
It all the good, Jersey boys? Do all the good singers come out of Jersey?
Right.
You from Jersey, me from Chicago. If you would have told me, anything but country music comes out of Nashville, that was just not something on my radar, I guess. Tell me about, just how you came to Nashville, and just, is Nashville more than just country music?
That's a great question, and one that I really like to address, because this isn't the first time I've been presented with that question, like rock and you're in Nashville, what gives? So it's a pretty easy answer. And fortunately, the experiences that I've had, especially on The Voice, was contingent upon me coming to Nashville, because I met so many incredible musicians, a lot of them country, believe it or not.
Right.
Pun intended, of course, because Blake has a slew of artists that have developed throughout the year that we've been able to witness on TV that are country artists. And there were a few in particular, like James Dupree, who's doing incredibly well, was my roommate on The Voice, Brittany Sloan, just to name a few, that encouraged me to at least visit Nashville. Now, here's the thing about Nashville. Sure, everyone stipulates that it's country, but there's a reason why they call it Music City. Okay, music as a whole is culminated by a bunch of genres put together. So when you think of Nashville, your first tendency is to think country, but it's actually not. The reason why Nashville appealed to me was because of the entire songwriting process. I said, you know what, I'm going to come down there. First of all, you meet incredible musicians. You want to talk about a humbling city. Once you go down there, the babysitter can wail on a 1960 Taylor or Martin guitar. It's incredible. I remember the first time I stayed there was a week, and Brittany Sloan, bless her heart, as they would say, let me sleep on the couch so I could experience Nashville. The amount of talent that I was able to come into contact with was just overwhelming. And you learn to appreciate that whole process. You learn to appreciate the whole life of a musician, and being there was humbling in that it taught me how to really embrace the process of a song. If you want to know how to write a song, you go to Nashville. I don't care what it is, because once you have a properly sculptured song, you start out with that clay, just like somebody goes in there and starts chiseling their way. They show you the entire breakdown process. And of course, years later, I decided I'm going to move down here. I took a risk, and I told my wife, I'm like, something's telling me to move down to Nashville. And it's the best thing I've ever done with respect to my music career, because the amount of people that I met, the connections, the networking, the talent, the knowledge, first and foremost, that I was able to acquire from that city has been indispensable, especially with respect to all of my releases. I feel confident when I release a song now. Now, if I get stuck, there's certain, strategic elements that you tackle in order to get through that writing process. It opens up the doors for co-writing. People are like, wait a second, co-writing? No, I'm not splitting my proceeds. It's just a different mentality out there. And, there's so many specials on Netflix. Don't take my word for it.
Right.
Watch the specials. It's a beautiful city. And I would recommend it to anyone. I don't care what genre that you are in, whether you're a singer, pianist, guitar player, whatever the case may be. Visit Nashville, get a taste of it. And I can guarantee this, okay? You'll enhance your entire musical experience.
That's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about the songwriting, the co-writing, putting that into perspective. I mean, how many artists would you say out there write their own music, co-write, or just 100% they're just taking songs that others are writing for them? how does that process work?
Well, I think that Nashville sets the entire paradigm of songwriting. You know, I think everyone writes in Nashville.
Mhm.
Regardless, the grocery store worker, the truck driver, the babysitter, as I said, everyone, I think it's the city. It's got that energy that it
Yeah.
compels you just to write stuff,
Yeah.
And I think that Nashville as a whole, Music City, is just infected with, and I don't want to use the word infected as a bad connotation, but it's almost like it's this beautiful bug that bites you.
Yeah.
That it compels you just to write, and you're around so much talent and influential figures that you can't help yourself but to create something, because the experiences dictate everything. They just take that and create that into their platform so you can create your project, and it comes, it basically brings it to fruition. What better place to do it?
Yeah.
I really enjoy Nashville. I have nothing but great things to say, especially about the people and the musicianship that comes out of that city.
Well, speaking of infected, and not to transition to a negative, but obviously COVID, has impacted the music industry, especially live performance, especially. How's COVID affected you this past year?
Coming from both angles, for those of you who don't know me out there, I'm also an editorial photographer, a music photographer, as opposed to being a singer. And I think artistically, it has been horrific with respect to income. And I've had to make the transition into finding other ways, other sources of income, and I'm grateful for that. But, unfortunately, under those circumstances, it's not really, really healthy because you deal with the stress. And I just lost my dad to COVID December 1st. That's been kind of traumatizing for me. It's like I feel like I'm PTSDing this whole experience. And I don't think people realize the severity of it. I think the ignorance is what's causing a greater calamity, because until it hits home, Mike, people don't realize, as I said, the severity of this disease. And, it catches you by surprise. It's surreal. It really is. And no one will ever understand, of course, aside from the people that have experienced it. Every phone call was terrifying from the doctors. Waking up to my wife, who was sick for 23 days. And I'd be like, how do you feel? No, my fever's still coming back, 102, 101. And then gradually it turns into something else. It's just a terrifying experience. But luckily for my wife, she's still with us, of course. It was a rough 3 weeks, but nonetheless, she managed to cope with everything. And she feels great now. We were all infected with it, including myself. I had some symptoms, but losing my dad has been a huge void in this family. And there's a lot of music I know in me that's going to be writing about this experience. Not yet, because I'm still in that, it's like being an alcoholic, Mike, and I've had friends, you go through this entire process, the deniability, like, did this really happen? And then you start filtering all these other emotions like anger and frustration, and you start questioning things and the insecurities and the tears that roll. So there is a culmination of emotions that do arise. But I got to persevere. My dad was my biggest inspiration. He was a hero. Yeah. And he upheld everything that I've ever did. Because of him, I became a photographer. He was the first professional photographer in our family. And he was the one who introduced me to playing drums. So everything that I've accomplished, every person that I've been able to inspire, whatever the case may be, through my artistic callings, it's because of him. So I have to persevere. It's just difficult, when you lose someone, especially if you've lived in a home where everything you look around reminds you of him. So it's difficult, Mike. I'm not going to lie. It's been a rough road, but patience has never been one of my strong suits, but I've got to learn to embrace that element.
Well, my heart goes out to you. I lost my dad 9 years ago to cancer. From the day he got diagnosed to the day he was gone was 38 days. Caught it very late stage, and it had spread through his body. And I can remember just for a year and a half, my dad was one of my closest friends. And, anytime something good would happen in my day, I'd pick up my phone to call my dad. And, for a year and a half, it's just,
Exactly.
So it's my heart goes out to you for that. So let's, shift to, back to some music a little bit, back to a lighter note. So you recently released a song, The Last One. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the last song, it was a approach to me by a good friend of mine who we've written and worked on some projects prior to this. You know, Bonnie Warren, who's a great songwriter, another award-winning songwriter, very well known in Nashville, and she knows how I am with message-oriented type of songs. You know, and a lot of people wonder, well, you're a rock guy, and I noticed the last few songs were very message-oriented. You know, like "Hate Has No Home Here" and "Where Are Your Words" was against anti-bullying, and this was. It couldn't have happened at a better time, because the last one has to do with really embracing the moment and letting go of all the hate and the angst or any jealousy or any type of, you know, grudges that you have, and just let go, because you never know when it's the last time you're going to see this person. And I've experienced it firsthand this year. And that song has transformed many, many lives. And the fact that I've been able to do that through music, it certainly is a blessing. And the last one is just one of those songs that I encourage everyone to listen to. It kind of makes you think, like, why am I so angry? What the hell grudge am I holding on to? Like, life is too short. Trust me, people, I've witnessed it firsthand. 1 minute you're here and the next you're gone. So this song, couldn't be any truer than this moment right now, especially with COVID and everything that's going on in this world politically. It's just a sad situation. And this is a type of song that kind of helps drift you away into a better, more positive world.
Yeah. So tell us about, you know, let's look forward and positive. You know, the world hopefully opens up here. What does 2021 look like for Manny? And, you know, if the world does open back up, are we going to be able to see you live out there again?
Yeah, you know what? That's the plan. You know, I've got a lot of things on my plate. Actually, I've been playing catch up for close to 2 months now. You know, I left for Nashville back late October and had about 14 artist photo shoots. Now, remember, these are all been pending since February, since the pandemic started. So
right.
I drove 13 hours down there, because artists, you know, you can't let down my fellow artists. You know, they need their visuals, they need their social media posts and everything. Plus, you know, with so many releases, because let's face it, a lot of artists are working on their personal projects, and you got to keep releasing stuff.
Right.
So pictures are indispensable right now. So yeah, it was close to over 10,000 photographs and over 2,000 miles. Then driving back here, catching up to that, and then everything that started with my dad. I just haven't been able to breathe. I've been 100 miles an hour since the get-go, but you know, you always find time. And thankfully, I had so many hours of work and post-production and editing. It took my mind off these dismal moments that I've been going through. But yeah, this year is going to be a year of, I wouldn't say rebranding. I've got a lot of music that I've been working on that have been on the back burner, that I really decided I'm not going to delay it anymore. My dad would have said, you know what? Now it's your time. You know, you've got to persevere, put everything that you've been delaying, use me as an example. You never know, just put it out there. You know, passion for me has been at the forefront of everything that I've engaged in. And I think this year is going to deliberately show people the passion that I'm about, whether it's my podcast, Mojo for Musicians, which, by the way, I'm going to be reaching out to you. Wink, wink.
All right. Look forward to that.
A lot of music. I'm working on 4 simultaneous projects, 2 5-song EPs, building the clothing line, which I know people are going to really enjoy, because it's all about inspiration, you know me. And a couple of other things that I will not mention. I'll leave that as a surprise, because, you know, you can't disclose all of your bullets, let's say. But yeah, it's going to be a year of rekindling some old fires that have gone out, either because I've been distracted with new work or new situations. But yeah, it's going to be a fun year. So.
All right. Well, I'd encourage all the viewers here that have hung in here just to, you know, check you out online, mannycabo.com, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, mannycabo.com.
We also have your music available over at crowdmusic.com. And
yes.
What about your photography? What's the web address for that for folks that want to check?
It's actually, see, what I did was I took a lot of insight, and I reached out to a lot of influencers out there, and I asked them, you know, what would be the best way to demonstrate all of my backgrounds? Because everyone's like, well, you're a photographer, you're a host, you're a singer. And they're like, put it all in one site. It's your brand. It's who you are. So if you go to my site, mannycabo.com, there's different tabs, you know, from tour dates, to my clothing line, to the photographers. So if you click on the photographer link, you'll see the slew of photographs where I've been published, magazines that I've worked with, the tons of artists. And I've got tons already that have reached out. So, you know, I usually like to plan accordingly. I'll get like 8 or 9 artists. I'll put them all in 1 month, you know, span it out through a course of 2 or 3 weeks and do my shoots out there. So if you're looking for images, you know how to find me as well. And the podcast is coming. I'm really excited about that.
All right. Well, I'm excited about that too. So Manny, again, just thanks so much, folks. You know, go to mannycabo.com, check out his music, listen to him, you know, find him out there. He is just an incredible talent. I can't say enough about Manny, and just an all around, just fantastic human being. Again, Manny, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, the pleasure was all mine, Mike. You know, man, I'm always here for you guys. You guys are doing nothing but great things, especially for the music industry. I'm excited about crowd music. So let's keep that going.
All right. Appreciate it. You all take care. Have a great one.
Take care, Mike.